Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I mustn't shout this evening because, as you can see, we've all got headsets on, which is going to means that the audio quality of this podcast now is going to be unbelievable. So I better not shout. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, episode 83. 3 points in the bag. Lovely to win first game of the season. Always want to win first game of the season. Joining me this evening, we had him on last week, but he's agreed to come back on this week due to popular demand, I might add. Dan, how are you, mate?
Hello, Craig. How you doing? Mate, we're not actually on a podcast. You know, we're just playing Call of Duty on the Xbox. That's what it is.
that's what we look like.
Isn't it? That's what it looks like. Thanks for having me back, mate.
No problem at all, mate. Our pleasure. Harry, how are you, sir?
I'm good, mate. All good, thank you. Good.
Very good. Very good. Judges?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks. Just the same to the boys before you come on. Had a good time up in Newcastle, but me back went into spasm, so I'm not too healthy at the moment. So
was that because you were disco dancing?
No,
don't lie. I saw the videos on Facebook.
I did have a little dance, but a few beers had kicked in by then. But no, it was more on I went up there because obviously in the car, and blimey, it was a long journey, and I woke up Sunday morning and we went into spasm. So and then I had to go up 66,000 flights of steps. Do you know what I mean? They didn't give me the lift. Me and Steve were trying to get the lift, but they weren't having it. You know what I mean? So, but all in all,
should have shown him your bus pass.
Yeah.
I thought you was my mate, Harry. I said, you know what I mean? How comes he's getting away with wearing a blue shirt, by the way? You know what I mean?
It's Argentina.
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 Maradona and Messi, two greatest footballers of all time.
If I'd have known it was an Argentina one, I'd got him to take it off. But...
Yeah, no. See his hairy chest, no thank you.
We'll have to...
Lee, where's your shirt, mate? You said you were going to put the defender we signed on the back. What's going on with that?
I cannot get David Luiz on my back. Thank you very much.
You did promise.
Mate. I had to bring it up, mate. I had to bring it up.
Yeah, there's a question for you, Lee. Can you see that? Were you on the pints or that?
I was on the right. Karen well knows I was on the pints, so she's been watching Facebook and things like that. It's definitely on the pints, but what I'm going to have to do, because I did say that last week, didn't I? Thanks, Dan. You're not coming on no more, by the way. I will have to get a defender that we signed. So we'll have a little vote. Do you know what I mean? Should I get David Luiz on it? Because we did say a class defender. Now, is he class or not? You know,
he's won it all.
So we'll have a little votes for the people that are watching today, if they can all vote.
All right then. Okay. So, are you serious?
Well, if the viewers of the Same Old Arsenal believe that David Luiz is a world-class striker, defender, and I should get him on the back of my shirt when I go and purchase, then I will go and put David Luiz, which is a total taking a piss because he's got more hair than I've ever had. You know what I mean? But I will get David Luiz on the back of my shirt.
Okay,
right? You haven't got a vote, all right? I'm telling you that now because you're going to go against it.
There's another little catch. If they decide that you are to have David Luiz on the back of your shirt, I want a picture of it, of you in the stadium, and I want a picture of you going.
With a David Luiz wig on.
Yeah, could you borrow it off Heavy D?
Don't.
I won't get one with a wig. Come on, unless the Same Old Arsenal viewers vote for that, you know what I mean?
All right. Well, look, how many? I tell you what, right? Everyone in the chat, everyone that's in the chat right now, and anyone that's watching this on replay. Hello to you, by the way, if you're watching this on replay. Thanks for the support. If you think Lee Judges should get David Luiz put on the back of his shirt, put it in the comment section. Down below, if you're watching on replay, or tweet to us #David Luiz for Lee Judges, and we'll see how many we get. How many we got to get, Lee?
Well, we'll see what comes out. Yes or no? I don't know. What do you reckon?
1,000.
1,000.
1,000. 1,000. I say, go to Twitter, right?
We'll go 500. Go 500.
No, we'll go 1,000. Go to Twitter. Go to Twitter and tweet us. Luiz, #David Luiz for Judges. And if we can get 1,000 hashtags, Lee will get the picture and David Luiz put on the back of his shirt.
It has to be the away kit as well, though. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Thank you very much, Craig.
That's fine. Yeah, how about get this video to 1,000 likes? That'd be nice.
Yeah,
all right then. Yeah, 1,000 likes on this video. So cancel everything. Yeah, cancel everything I've just said. 1,000 likes on this video.
Or 1,000 views. 1,000 views.
No, 1,000 views. We can't do 1,000 views. We'll have 1,000 views on it in half an hour. But that's too easy. 1,000 likes.
But interesting, I want to know: do people feel that David Luiz is a world-class defender? I need to know that.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments here now. Comment. Lee wants to know: do you all think that David Luiz is David Luiz a world-class defender?
I did say world-class defender. I'd have on my back.
Is he? So let us know in the comments. Anyway, let's get. I suppose we better get on with the podcast, really.
Yeah. Why not? Be
here all night. Just before we start, as you know, we are partnered with FansBet. If anyone likes to bet at the weekend, have a look at the app, which is the link below. Have a bet, and actually a bit of news with this. Actually, we've actually chosen our what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficiary. So our beneficiary now with FansBet will be Great Ormond Street Hospital. So every time you bet, you're not helping the podcast, you're helping sick children in Great Ormond Street. Every single penny of the partnership, every single penny that we raise will go straight to Great Ormond Street Hospital. So there you go. There's your cause to use the app. Every time you bet with them, you're helping sick kids in Great Ormond Street Hospital. So yeah. Newcastle away. Not a ground I like Arsenal going to, even though we've been quite successful up there the last few times. Harry, let's start with you. It's quite a slow game, wasn't it? Wasn't, after watching kind of Liverpool destroy Norwich and Manchester City destroy West Ham at pace. This game wasn't too pacey, was it? It was quite a slow game.
Yeah, I think when you wait all summer to see your team come back into competitive action, your expectations are huge, and often you get let down because, for a number of reasons. We can talk about the players that were available, lots of players at sort of different fitness levels, meaning that certain people had to be left out. Certain youngsters got a chance that have impressed, but I don't think they'll be playing every week as the season goes on. So we have to take all of that into consideration. But the most important thing is that we got the 3 points, we got a clean sheet, and, we move on, we build on it. But yeah, I think looking at Manchester City and Liverpool, I think you should just forget about them. They're in a league of their own compared to us. So, we just need to make the top four. That's our level at the moment. And based on the fact that we had so many players out, Lacazette was unable to start. Pepe didn't look fit at all. David Luiz hasn't trained enough with Arsenal to get a start. I thought Chambers did really well. So we've got to look at the positives. I thought Willock did really well. I thought Nelson did okay. A lot of people were raving about Nelson after the game. I thought he done okay, but I didn't see the big fuss, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
I felt like he kept drifting inside too much. And we were talking about Nelson coming back and being a winger. And I wanted to see him start in a wider position, get the ball on his stronger foot and have room to drive in. But he seemed to get lost in that inside channel a little bit too often for me yesterday. That was my only sort of thought on Reiss Nelson. But yeah, it's a positive performance. Always when the season starts, you're excited, you're pumped, you're buzzing, and you expect a great game. Ultimately, if that sort of game happens every week and Arsenal pick up the results and get back in the Champions League, then I'm good with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dan, let's come to you, mate. A lot of people have been saying to me, in various, my buddies there on WhatsApp were saying, a couple of years ago, we'd have lost the game. It would have been a game we would have lost, or a game we would have conceded a goal in the last minutes. Because the Newcastle come on quite strong there at the end. And I thought we'd done a really, really good job of keeping Newcastle at bay yesterday.
Yeah, I think so. Just touching on the squad, a lot of people were texting me going, "Oh, have you seen the side? It's so weak. We've got young players and all this." And what did people expect? We know the people that were out. We knew Lacazette wasn't fit. We knew Pepe would be on the bench. We knew that Bellerin and holding it out. We knew that Tierney's not fit. We knew that Ozil had his problems with Kolasinac. We knew that Tobias will probably be on the bench. You've got to take Socrates, Xhaka, and Leno and Aubameyang. That's probably the only players that will start against Burnley, if I'm honest. So we're playing a League Cup or Europa League side there against the Premiership side. Now, I don't rate Newcastle, and I've tipped them to go down this season. I don't think the manager will do enough to keep them up. So I can't say that our defending was outstanding. But you touch on Chambers. Yeah, I've not been a fan of him, if I'm honest. But I thought he played very well, if I'm honest, if you count him Chambers. And I thought that, he didn't really put a foot wrong. But then again, Newcastle going forward, I don't think they had much. They Shelvey at the post, and that Joe Linton had one shot, which Leno saved. Apart from that, I don't think they had much, really. But when it comes to Nelson, it was a very safe performance for me. I didn't understand why people were raving about him. I personally thought Joe Willock was really impressive from what I saw. I know he come off and he did look a bit tired, to be fair to him. A lot of tracking back, a lot of tackling. He looks like a real battler to me. Not sure he's a number 10, but I thought he played well. And I've got to give a credit to Ainsley Maitland-Niles for the goal, which we'll come on to in a bit. But yeah, all in all, mate, 3 points and no Mustafi equals a clean sheet, doesn't it?
Poor old Mustafi. Lee, you were there yesterday, mate. How did you get? How many steps? How many steps is it up to the top?
You lose count after a half hour. You know what I mean? It's an absolute
enough steps to give you a back spasm, mate.
Oh dear, you know what I mean? Like, listen, there was a couple of us who had a few too many beers the night before, and they found that tough, that walk. You know what I mean? Up there, like, it's horrendous. It really, I know I was going to go on to that, but like, it really does bug me that we have to go all the way up there, and then when they come down to our place, they're in a lovely little corner, lovely little spot. I just think it's an absolute joke that away fans have to endure that and get up into it, and it's an awful place to watch football in such a fantastic stadium, because it is an absolute fantastic stadium. But listen, I've got a little bit different take on it. Everything that everybody's saying there, you know what I mean? I think Newcastle were going to surprise a few people, because once they get up and running with their forward up front looked half decent, and the fella that come on the flank, once he gets up and running, you know what I mean? He looked more lively than Pepe when he come on, if I'll be honest, so, and he's probably at the same sort of level of fitness. I think Newcastle under Steve Bruce will be a little bit more dangerous than what people make out of. I thought they was well organised. They defended really well. And if I'll be honest, the game to me changed when, I don't know if you noticed it, old John Joe in midfield, like my cousin, apparently someone called him, so he got a little bit of an ankle injury, and I think they lost their little momentum a little bit, and Joe Willock then took over. And I feel that I honestly think it was a good result. I'm really pleased. There was so many pluses to take from that. The first one is that the back four is probably our reserve back four, if you want to be honest. You know what I mean? I think if we'll all be looking at it truthfully, obviously Bellerin will come in at right back, Holding at central defence, probably with David Luiz, and Tierney at left back. So to go up there and get a clean sheet was great. I have to say, Chambers I thought played really, really well. But let's not get carried away with the opposition and everything like that. It's a clean sheet, but a good one. But I was excited by seeing 4 English players on the pitch, and 3 of them coming through our youth system. And as I said, I think I said before, I hadn't really seen Willock in pre-season, but I was more than impressed with him. More than impressed. And out of all the players that we've lost this season, Aaron Ramsey wasn't missed. But I think people would turn around saying, you know what? He had an outstanding game in there. He tired towards the end, and that's the problem that we're going to have with the likes of him and Reece Nelson. I thought Reece Nelson done okay. You know what I mean? If you look at it from a point of view, there he's 18, 19. Away to Newcastle, these sort of players, I think, under Arsene Wenger in particular, would have been blooded at home, which was slightly easier. He's gone away from home, a tough place, and I wanted to get on the ball. I like that. I thought Guendouzi, people have been criticising Guendouzi on Twitter today. I thought he was immense, but he had a really good game. He broke up a lot of play, worked really hard.
I agree. Well, can I just come in there? We were talking about, I know we were talking about it yesterday in our chat, but where is it now? I've got to find it now. A lot of people were saying that Granit Xhaka was having a bad game. Now, I was one of them. I thought Granit Xhaka had an awful game. he just doesn't impress me at all, and I just don't get. I don't get him. But I went and had a look at some stats yesterday between Xhaka and Guendouzi. Now, Xhaka had an 85% pass completion rate. Guendouzi had 86%. Completed passes, Xhaka 71. Guendouzi 59. Key passes, Granit Xhaka 2. Guendouzi 1. Tackles 1. Granit Xhaka 3. Guendouzi 1. A tackle success rate of 60% for Granit Xhaka and only 33% for Guendouzi. Interceptions, Xhaka none, Guendouzi 2. Aerial duels 1, 2, and Guendouzi 3. Xhaka dispossessed no times and Xhaka 1. So, did Xhaka really have that much of a bad game?
I'll tell you what it is with
going on
Xhaka.
those stats.
I'll tell you what it is with Granit Xhaka. It's the fact that for every good thing he does, there'll be one moment where he just plays a completely stupid pass into the middle of nowhere, straight into an opposition player, and you wonder what he saw. And I'm a big fan of Granit Xhaka. You guys will know I've been on here how many times defending him. But there are moments with Granit Xhaka that make you want to smash your head against the wall. And I think, like I said last week, I think Granit Xhaka is better than a lot of what we got. And his passing range is something that we don't really have in the rest of our centre midfield players. And that's why he will be in the team going forward. Also, I get the impression that Granit Xhaka has a really good character within the dressing room, because he came out yesterday and he spoke after the game, didn't he, about the Ozil and Kolasinac thing, that the win was dedicated to them, which I thought was a nice touch. And it seems like he always seems to earn respect from his teammates and managers. If you look at Switzerland, they've made him the captain. Mönchengladbach had him as the captain as well for a period of time, if I'm not mistaken. He's now Arsenal's captain. So there is something there that we're kind of not seeing about Granit Xhaka. So because it's not on the pitch, maybe it's something in the dressing room. Maybe his attitude is impressive.
I watched him yesterday, because my mate Tony's a big fan of his, so we watched it together, and he's always looking to stick up for him. I'm always looking to criticise. So we had a real good look at him yesterday. One thing that I think is he's a mixed bag, isn't he? I thought he'd done some fantastic stuff. He gives away the ball cheaply. He wins tackles. He loses tackles. He wins headers. He loses headers. He's a mixed bag. But watching it eye up, I did notice one thing. When he gets the ball, he has got a fantastic diagonal pass, and it's like a bullet. But what happens is, as soon as he gets the ball, our two wide players, which were Nelson and Mkhitaryan, they go straight in. So it limits his range of passing. Now, I think that if we get Pepe on one side and whoever it be, Aubameyang or Nelson on the other, that pass will come a lot more into play. But it does what I think he does do. I don't think a lot of the top class players do. Harry, is that he gives away sloppy possession.
Yeah,
what I mean, and that's the downside of it. If he was playing a 50-yard pass, and this is the thing, and Tony was right what he was saying when he done this. If he has to drill a pass in 50, 60 yards, he hits the target. But when he has to do it to 5-10 yards, he misplaces it. Yeah. And that's down to sloppiness. You know what I mean? If he could just get that into his game, and because he has got this great long range of that, and that's where the frustrations come. I get the fact that he's probably a good leader. He's someone that you don't want to mess with. I think he's got that little bit about him that what we need. He's got a little bit of skullduggery. I like that. But there's good things you like about him, and there's bad things. But he has got to eradicate that from his game, because it continues to happen season after season. Now, when you look at someone like Mustafi that makes 5-6 mistakes of defence and everything, now everybody's had enough of it, and everybody wants him out now. But if you look at Mustafi, he's a mixed bag as well. He does some great stuff. He does some good wins headers, does this, does that, and then he makes a mistake. And that is what Granit Xhaka does. And if you're going to be successful and going to really push for this top four, you've got to not have that in your game. And that's something, and it's 2-3 seasons now. And my worry is, how many more times is it going to continue before someone says enough's enough?
I'm with Lee. I'm
Yeah, I
with Lee.
mean, Dan, this has come in here now from Gunner93. I think you can see that up on your screen, and he says Xhaka is the new scapegoat now because Iwobi's gone. I kind of disagree with that because there's been a lot of Granit Xhaka hate well before he'd left, well before Alex Iwobi's left. But what's your take on Granit Xhaka?
I just want the geezer out of the team. I just want him gone now. I've had enough of the guy, and I think you three have been a little bit more positive than me, so maybe I'm going to bring it down a peg or two. I don't think I can forgive someone who makes the same mistakes for 3 seasons now. It's sloppy
Fair
pass.
comment.
It's sloppy passing. It's another enough of it now. We want to try and push. He is one of 3 or 4 other players that I would have out of the team that cost us top 4 last season. And people may think that's harsh, and I think it's factual. I look at the games that he sloppiness of passing, his mistakes, the penalties he gives away. He's too rash in decisions. I can't have people defending him now because I want to get the top 4. He's a player that I don't believe will get top 4 if he's in the team. I do not want that guy as our captain, man. I do not want that guy as our captain. And I think it's going to happen. The only other option I can see, I mean, Harry talked about the love for Ozil and Kolasinac. Do you believe that he's doing that to try and get the captaincy, or do you believe that is sincere? Because he hasn't come out and said much stuff like that before. That's all I'm saying. I just think the guy's desperate for the captaincy. He wants to play in the team, but he's not good enough for me to be starting for Arsenal. That's just my opinion. People may disagree.
I think the comments that he made are sincere because I think that you can see clearly that him and Kolasinac in particular have a decent relationship. Whenever there's trouble, they're both in there together. They're both they're pictured quite a lot sort of outside of the pitch as well together. So I think it was sincere. I totally agree with you guys in the sense that he makes the same mistakes over and over again. But the kind of one thing I would say, and this is not excusing the mistakes, but I think in any other team, when a central midfielder gives the ball away, it doesn't mean that the team concedes a goal and capitulates. Arsenal's setup is completely wrong. And there was a goal, I think it was last season, was it away to Cardiff? Was it one of them? Where he played a stupid ball across the pitch.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And they picked up the ball, but we still had 5 players behind the ball. And I'm not saying that he should be excused for making that mistake. But I think in a better defensive unit, those mistakes don't always get exposed.
Highlighted.
And then we're not always
Fair enough.
talking
Yeah.
about
Good
them.
point.
And I think that, when you look at other teams, I think there are probably just as many mistakes from some players, but they don't always get exposed. And whilst it's Granit Xhaka's fault, I also think that the way the team has been set up, and our defensive record can tell you that, we are like cheese and people can slice through us at the back so easily at times. And it's not just because of Granit Xhaka. That's just my view on it.
Yeah. Let's talk about. I want to talk about this lad, Joe Willock. I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday, and really looks like he might be able to replace Aaron Ramsey. Lee, what do you say on that?
Yeah, I want to see. Listen, I would like to see him get a chance, and I'm not digging out Granit Xhaka. I'm not digging out Mkhitaryan. I would rather see him be given the opportunity than them keep getting the opportunity, if you know what I mean. Like that's my take on it now. I want to see. I agree with what a lot of people have said today that he's not going to play week in, week out, and rightly so. I think is he 20 years of age? I think he is. He's not going to play week in, week out. But what I see yesterday was a player that is going to come up against better opposition in midfield, but he had no respect for him in a nice way, if you know what I mean. Like, look at that tackle that showed on Shelby.
Yeah,
I've seen Monreal yesterday, 33 season pro, get a little tap on the face and go down, thinking like, looking at the referee. What did Joe Willock do yesterday? He got up and said, brushed himself down, chased back, got the ball, and we was on the break, and it was a great save from the keeper. I want to see that sort of energy. People keep going, oh, Emery's not got his players and everything like that. This is a kid that's got that energy, that press, everything that you want in a kid. Now, he's got a real opportunity to grow, and that's what I think. Mkhitaryan and Xhaka have got to their level. You know what I mean? Like I do believe that Willock's under that level, but there's a chance for him to just go up a level, you know, and keep going. And I think that we've got to give these guys a chance. I would rather see next week if everybody comes back. I don't want to see Mkhitaryan playing out wide. I want to see Reece Nelson playing out wide. You know what I mean? I want to see the youngsters be given the opportunity. You know, I'd still say this now. I want to see Maitland-Niles being given the opportunity in midfield. That sort of run he done from right back, doing that from central. I'd rather see that. But for me, Joe Willock yesterday for 60 minutes, and I've got to say this, I thought Emery done exceptionally well with him. He ran himself into the ground, and then they brought on Ceballos, who looks decent enough, tidy sort of player as well. But, you know, if you would come down from the moon, you know what I mean, and you said to him, well, which one's an international and which one's not, out of Willock and Ceballos, you would actually say that Willock, well, I would think Willock. You know what I mean? But this is a kid that's got a bright future. He's our future. He's an Arsenal player, and I'm sorry, you know, I'm buzzing. Not so much about the result, but I'm buzzing that we're bringing in some young players, homegrown players.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It is. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, somebody said the other day, you know, it's like, I'm not comparing it with the George Graham here. I'm certainly not going down that road, but you know, Arsenal were in the same sort of position, building on things, and they brought in 4 or 5 youngsters in Newcastle, Mickey Thomas, Tony Adams, you know, Kevin Campbell come through a little bit later, but all those guys come through, and you have an affinity towards them, and more importantly, they have an affinity to the Arsenal. You know what I mean? It's inbred in that, you know, that they all love it and all that, like, you know. And it's disappointing that Iwobi's gone, one of our guys has gone, but you know, from my point of view now, we've got 3 or 4 of these kids coming through. Sakho's another one that I'd like to see be given an opportunity. And what I think Arsenal are doing, and it's not just with Joe, we're getting all younger players in now over the next 2 or 3 years. And I think they've thought, do you know what? We can't compete with Man City and other teams on the financial thing. But what we can do is get a group of young kids together, 2025, hungry, get them taught the right way, and we could really attack things, you know. And I have to say, I don't know if we're going to talk about him later on, Gabriel Martinelli. What's an impact he made. Now, if he'd have come on and you said him and Pepe come on and you said which one was worth 70 million, which was paid for, and which one for 6, you'd have turned it around like yesterday. So there's potential there with him. I'm not having a go at Pepe with that, I think, because obviously Pepe's a long way further down. And one thing that Emery got right yesterday, as far as I was concerned, that there was a lot of those players, Martinelli, Joe Willock, they'd all been playing from the very first pre-season, and he went with them yesterday, and I think that was a fantastic move from him, and we got the result. And Joe Willock was very, very much part of that, like, you know. And people have started to criticise Joe Willock. Well, he's only playing against Newcastle. I can't stand that when that happens.
Who cares?
Because if we'd have lost to Newcastle yesterday, everybody would have been going, oh, Arsenal are crap, Arsenal this, Arsenal that. But because we've won a game, yeah, everybody turns around and says, oh, Newcastle are crap. No, I don't give a monkeys. We've had to put on who we had to do. You can only beat what's in front of you. And Joe Willock produced. And Shelby, whether you love him or hate him, is a decent player, and in the past has caused Arsenal problems. He didn't yesterday because Willock was all over him like a rash. Love Joe Willock.
Absolutely, Harry. Let's come to you on this boy. Who had a fantastic game yesterday. Callum Chambers seems to have come back from Fulham and seems to want to take the ball by the horns, as we say, and you know, put himself in there.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Callum Chambers yesterday. I thought he done really well. I think that Socrates may not always be the best defender in the world, but what he does do well is when he's got someone alongside him, he guides them in terms of when to push up, when to drop back, and they communicate really well. He's a good communicator, and I think that will help Chambers a lot. I think Chambers will have been a bit nervous yesterday going into the game because there is expectation on him. He's come back from Fulham. The expectation is that he's improved as a player, and he will get game time this season. Koscielny's gone now. You know, it remains to be seen how long it'll be before Holding's ready to feature in the first team. Plus, given the injury that Holding's had, there's no question he's going to pick up some nickels along his recovery. So you'd expect Callum Chambers to get a fair amount of game time this season. And I thought he had a great start Getting back into the swing of things. And I'm glad for him because I hope he does well. And I think he's got the attributes to be a very good centre half. But and I know Lee just made the point not to say it about Willock, but it was only Newcastle. But I do advise caution when we're talking about
of course, yes, I know that.
Because when we're talking about the Arsenal defence, we know that we're going to come up against some really difficult teams in this league. We know that we're not set up the best.
I'm so sorry, Harry. I'm so sorry, mate. I that is so unprofessional of me, but I can't sit here while he's drinking a can of Coke like that with his pinky up in the air.
Oh, Lee, I couldn't hold it together.
People who are listening to this on audio don't know what we're going on about, but Lee Judges is sitting here drinking a can of Diet Pepsi and every time he's taking this week, the pinky's going up. Harry, I'm so sorry, mate. Carry on.
I have to say this, Harry's so professional because he's kept going. So well done, Harry.
Yeah, we failed. We failed.
Media trained is our Harry. Media trained.
So I think he done really well, Callum Chambers, and I hope that he gets the chances he deserves. But that final point I was making, it was Newcastle. They showed glimpses. Joe Linton showed a bit of power at times, and Saint Maximin, the winger that came on, he looks like another Adama Traore to me. Lots of pace, lots of power, but doesn't know what to do with it once he gets in the final position. So I think that yesterday wasn't the greatest game to judge Callum Chambers' progress on. But the early signs are positive, and you can only play against what's in front of you. Kept a clean sheet, and we got all 3 points. So
absolutely. Dan, let's bring this question in here from Bill. Thanks for your kind donation, Bill. Thank you very much indeed, mate. We will eat like kings this week. €5. No, that's enough to get us all a double cheeseburger.
Lovely. I expect the pound in the post.
Okay. Bill says, Is Emery under real pressure this season to deliver, as the board have just backed him? Rambo, Jenks and Iwobi have left. Still shows the class the club have. Oh, sorry. The way that Rambo, Jenkinson and Iwobi left still shows the class the club have. Yeah, absolutely. Dan, what would you say to that? And thanks for the donation, Bill. Thanks very much, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Bill, mate. Top man. I think the class we show is throughout, really. So I don't think I need to comment on that to prove that we still have class when it comes to Arsenal Football Club. In terms of, do I think Emery's under pressure? Yeah, I think he probably is to get top 4 this year. The way the clubs around us have competed in the transfer window in comparison to us. I said last week that I thought Chelsea would struggle. I can't go on yesterday's game because it is only one game, but they do look like they're starting again for me with Frank Lampard. I think Man United, the scoreline looked like they battered them, but to be fair, they looked about as open as Chelsea did at certain times, I thought.
Yeah.
So I don't actually think Man United can get too excited by some of their play. But it's as to be expected. I think that lot up the road probably deserved to win from what I saw. I know Villa got an early goal and they did beat them, but they probably deserved to beat them. They were all over them from what I saw.
They weren't that good. I watched it. Villa just ran out of steam, mate. And
right.
Tottenham were the fitter team, and ultimately that's why they won the game. I mean,
can I just come in on that question about the board backing Emery?
Yeah,
I don't think they really have backed Emery that much, and I'll tell you why. And this is probably going to stir a load of comments up, but if you think about it, we lost Iwobi, we've lost Koscielny, we've lost Ramsey, and we've brought in Luiz, we've brought Ceballos in, we've brought Willock's coming through and stuff. Yes, we signed Pepe. Over a course of 5 years, I think we're going to pay the installments. And notice how the club didn't actually do the Tierney deal until after they'd agreed a deal to sell Alex Iwobi to Everton, and the David Luiz deal too, to balance the books. That's all they've done. Again, that's all they've done. They've balanced the books. They haven't gone and said to Unai Emery, here's 100-odd million, go and get what you need, because he's lost players as well. I don't think in an ideal world, given how much Unai Emery used Ramsey and Iwobi last season, he didn't want to lose those two players. So have they actually backed him? I don't think so. I think they sold Iwobi to balance the books.
So you think Unai Emery will be okay, whatever then, Harry, if you're saying that?
No, I personally think that if Unai Emery doesn't get us in the Champions League this season, he's gone.
Okay.
And because I think that he was hired because we needed to get in the Champions League, and he's got 2 years to do that in my eyes. And if he doesn't do it this season, then he'll be out. But Unai will be under pressure this season. But I'm just kind of making the point that I feel like some people are going to take that stance and say, he's been backed. And I'm a critic of Unai Emery, but even I can see that I don't think he's been backed in the way that a club of this size should be backing their manager. It feels like at the end of the day, after 5 o'clock on deadline day, we hear that Alex Iwobi's been sold. And it just felt like, yeah, Alex Iwobi ain't the greatest player in the world, but it was as if we were holding fire on Tierney, holding off giving that extra money. The David Luiz deal didn't come about till the night before the deadline. And all of a sudden, those deals are done, but we've lost someone for 38 million, of whatever it is, 29 million up front. But they just balance the books. That's all they're doing, and that's all they will continue to do.
Lee, what would you say on that? Because I know you when we were talking on deadline day, you were quite disappointed with the transfer window, weren't you?
Yeah, look, listen, I think it was a good transfer window, but it weren't great. People were saying about that, and I agree with what Harry's saying. It looks like we did go balancing the books. Now, people turn around and say, oh, what can you expect? Iwobi was sold 1 minute before the deadline. Do you honestly believe that that's the case?
No.
That's of course not. It's in the pipeline before that, you know what I mean? Obviously, and I do think that they, look, listen, what would have been a great transfer, and I still think this, right? Maybe I'm being a bit optimistic or pessimistic, whatever we want to say. I believe that Zaha caught wind that Iwobi was going, and I think he thought that Arsenal may come in and all that, and maybe Arsenal did, but they weren't prepared to play as much. Why would he put in a transfer request? And I think that it would have been fantastic if we'd have replaced Iwobi with Zaha, and that would have been back in the manager. Because I look at it yesterday. Do you imagine if you got Pepe on one side, Zaha on the other, Aubameyang, Lacazette battling for it up front? You know what I mean? It would have been would have been a different animal. But as Harry says, I think that we've balanced the books. We've gone into the season with a right back, and also the David Luiz one isn't coming in to improve our central defence. In my opinion, David Luiz was brought in to replace Koscielny because we lost Koscielny. You know what I mean?
You say that he's not coming to make our defence better. Is he better than Mustafi?
Yes.
Well, yes.
Is he better than Laurent Koscielny?
I believe he is. Yeah.
So that's an improvement then, surely.
Yeah. So it is an improvement. But at the end of the day, if Koscielny, my point is, I changed that around. Then, if Koscielny said, all right, yeah, I'll stay for that extra year, I don't think Arsenal would have gone and got David Luiz.
Yeah, agreed. That's the point.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Oh,
the reason they went and got David Luiz was
soon to be on the back of your shirt.
Soon to be on the back of my shirts because Koscielny done what he done. That's my opinion. I might be wrong. I'd like to find out. But, people can go down the route, oh, we got in David Luiz because we didn't go and buy a 30, 40 million pound French defender.
But isn't it great to see though that we actually did bring in someone?
Yes.
If it had been Arsene Wenger, if it had been the Gazidis Wenger era, it would have been, we couldn't get anyone, we couldn't find anyone. So we have Callum Chambers coming back from Fulham. He will be like a new signing.
I think the point here is that we're not saying that the business they done wasn't smart. There has been some
very
smart
good
business in there.
Very
good business. But that you can be smart and still balance the books, and they've balanced the books here. So to say that the business is smart is absolutely right. But also when you say that they've backed him and they've gone out there and put their money where their mouth is, they haven't. So that's kind of the point. The business is good, but the money's not been spent.
But why are we sitting here as Arsenal fans complaining? Like, if Raúl goes out and does these deals like he's done, and if he gets these deals across the line by paying instalments, then what are we to care?
No problem.
As well.
So we bring Dan in there.
Sorry, boys. Yeah. On that point, we've sold Iwobi for this amount of money. There's high rumours that Mustafi and El Nini are both leaving as well this window. They both went on the bench, so it would suggest that there is potentially a likelihood there. Would it not be so refreshing to go and buy a centre-half in January that is better than David Luiz with the money we've got for Iwobi, potentially Mustafi, potentially El Neni. And then we could look at ourselves and think, you know what? Top four is now a given, potentially, because I think we need a centre-half still. I know David Luiz is okay, but he is a replacement for Koscielny. We needed a centre-half with Koscielny, so we still need a centre-half. For me, I wouldn't look at the Zaha deal now. I'd look at a centre-half, maybe Upamecano, whoever we want to go for. Let's get somebody in who's going to improve our side, and then we can push for it. That's my say on it, personally.
And Dan, that's a key point there, is that because of what's gone on this window, I do believe there's a change, because let's face it, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, January transfer window has just been January for us. You know what I mean? Let's face it, as you know, people turn around and say, "Oh, yeah, but we got Aubameyang in on that day." We only got Aubameyang in on that day because of the Sanchez stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if Sanchez would have stayed, we wouldn't have got Aubameyang. They don't. You know what I mean? We was reacting to what was going on. It does look like now that we're reacting in a positive way, more on the front foot instead of the back foot, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, you know, so I think that yes, that could happen, and I feel a little bit more positive looking at that window, that come January, Arsenal will say, if it is what's his name, the French guy,
Upamecano.
Thank you. Right, they get him right. They might have to say, well, he's going to stay till the summer, and then we sign him. But as long as we sign him, you know what I mean? Like, then so you've got them two young French boys coming in next season, because don't forget, he might be still in the Champions League, might not want to come at that stage, but get the deal done and go from there. And then you if that does happen, boys, you will turn around and I will turn around and say, you know what, getting David Luiz was a good bit of business to see us through this season, bit of experience, as we said, like, you know, bringing on Callum Chambers, it might be the making of Callum Chambers and Rob Holding, having someone with that winning mentality next to them, and then these other two kick on next season. I'll be disappointed if they do sell Mustafi and they do sell El Neni in this transfer window, and then come January go, oh, we can't get no one in January.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, then you're looking at it like they're balancing the books. That's my opinion.
Well, I think the January transfer window should be done away with anyway. I've always said that the January transfer window is a waste of time. Wouldn't we much rather see a player like Upamecano come in the summer? Do you know what?
Yeah, but get the deal done, because other clubs are going to come in for this kid. Apparently,
okay, we'll get the deal done in January then. But you know, I mean,
and then come in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, Lee, and I totally agree with you, mate. January transfer window has just been January for the last God knows how long. And of course,
but Chelsea done that this year, didn't they? They knew Hazard was going to go.
Yeah.
In the summer, so they knew that, so they're working on the front foot. They get this other fella in. He comes in this summer, and it's good. It's good bit of business. You know what I mean? So that's the things that they're doing, like, you know what I mean, which is good sort of stuff. And hopefully that's what Arsenal can do. I just feel Arsenal going to be positive. They're looking in positive things, and hopefully that's what will happen.
Hope so. It's like, I mean, it is. So I mean, I can't fault the transfer window. I really can't. I mean, bringing in, even if David Luiz is a stopgap, right? We're bringing in Saliba next year. The future in the middle of defence, Harry, I'll bring you back on this one. The future of our centre halves is Holding and Saliba. At the moment, we've got Socrates. You know, possibly might leave at the end of this season. I don't know. We have Callum Chambers, who put in a really good performance yesterday. If he carries on putting performances like he did yesterday, he's going to be in with a shout. So bringing in, I mean, I've seen a lot of animosity towards David Luiz since we've signed him. One good thing is that he actually wanted to come and play for us. Lee heard a rumor that Frank Lampard told him that he's his fourth choice centre half. Now, watching him yesterday, if David Luiz is fourth choice, I mean, Christ. Kurt Zuma and that Christensen were woeful yesterday. So, you know, for the people that are saying, you know, oh, I didn't want to see David Luiz come in, I'm saying, what a signing for a stopgap. if he's obviously happy to come in, he's obviously happy to know that he probably is only a stopgap signing. I would have, I mean, I don't think David Luiz is coming to Arsenal at 32 and saying, right, I'm coming in to be your main centre half. What do you think about it?
I think that David Luiz is a good signing for the position that we were in. I think that the club tried to hold on to Laurent Koscielny. We know that they didn't want to let him go without receiving any money. That went on and on and on throughout the summer. Emery even said we tried to persuade him to stay, but he didn't want to. And all things considered, when your captain and centre-half gets up and leaves 2 days before the transfer window closes, to get David Luiz isn't a bad thing. I'm happy with that.
And especially for 8 million.
Absolutely. It's a steal. I think with David Luiz and Frank Lampard, I was on the press conferences on Friday and I was watching Frank Lampard's one really closely. And when he was asked about what happened with David Luiz, he said, we had some really frank and honest conversations and David decided that he wanted to leave. Now, that does suggest that rumor is true, that he was told, maybe not that he's going to be fourth choice, but he was told he couldn't be guaranteed to start every week. And at 32 years old, I'm sure David Luiz thought, do you know what? I've won everything there is to win in football pretty much. I don't need this shit. I'm better than that. And Arsenal is an attractive club to lots of people. Of course it is. We love the club. We can see why. But it's also another London club, which means he doesn't have to uproot and leave. He's going to get a decent salary at Arsenal. It's a chance to stay at the top level. I think that's how Mourinho described it on the Super Sunday thing. He said it's an opportunity at 32 to still stay at the top level, and not many players get that opportunity. So David Luiz would have been stupid not to want to come to Arsenal once the interest was there. But just touching on that point about Holding and Saliba and those guys being the future, for me.
And of course, yeah. Kieran Tierney, don't forget. I mean, we haven't mentioned him yet. Kieran Tierney, a lot of people are saying, oh, God, he's coming from the Scottish division. He's been playing against a poor calibre of player, this, that and the other. But to see the way that some pundits, John Hartson, a lot of Scottish pundits, and I've talked to a lot of Celtic fans on Twitter as well over the week about him, ones that are not getting, some Celtic fans have been absolutely ridiculous in some of the things they've been saying about the kid. But living in Ireland, they're all Celtic fans over here. It comes with living in Ireland. And, the normal ones, I call them, have told me that we've got a hell of a player on our hands.
Yeah, we have, and we've got to be pleased with that. There's no question about that. I just think, though, like with the Tierney thing, people talk about the Scottish League. If you're a good player, you'll make it. You'll succeed. It might take some time to adapt, but you'll make it. With the centre-halves, I'm still got question marks over what our future is because, yes, Holding has shown to be a good player when he's played. He hasn't been in there for a whole season yet for us to really have a good look. Callum Chambers, we haven't seen enough of him playing regularly. And Saliba as well is another one who's only played about 15 odd senior games for St. Etienne. So you've got to be cautious with these guys. Hopefully they develop in the way that we want them to, and they will be the future. But Arsenal need to keep an open mind on that because it's often that players don't develop the way you expect. So I'd be cautious on that.
Dan, you got anything to say about the centre half?
Yeah. If we do get centre half in January, which I hope we do, if that does happen, or whether it be next summer, whatever, let's not forget that I personally believe David Luiz, his best position is defensive midfield. And I believe that if we push him forward, then he doesn't make those silly errors that he does at the back, which makes him look like Mustafi. Because he has got that in him.
Interesting
he has got
point,
that in
mate.
him.
Yeah,
I think when it comes to Callum Chambers, Rob Holding, if we do get Upamecano and keep Socrates, we've got 4 centre-halves there. David Luiz can play there without a doubt. But let's not forget, I would rather have him next to Torreira Holding instead of Granit Xhaka. Now, I can't see that happening because for whatever reason, Granit Xhaka seems to get a game, whatever. But I think that David Luiz can play in that position. I think there's more positives than negatives with David Luiz. I think in terms of what he can be a threat-wise from corners, I think he's good with his head. He's on set pieces. And for me, the most positive thing about it is he sees a through ball. His passing is actually very good. And I'm not one for stats, and I nearly commented on it earlier when you brought up Xhaka's stats. But on fantasy football, David Luiz gets so many points just for the pure fact that he does create a lot going forward as well. So maybe defensive midfield is a potential position for him next season or hopefully in January or even part of this season. So that's what I've got to say on David Luiz, really.
That's an interesting point. Very interesting.
It's a good option to have, you know, because he's versatility. But also, Callum Chambers can play in midfield as well.
Mm.
So they could look at maybe like doing that. I'm not saying put him in there at this moment in time. I'm not in front of Xhaka, but he played very, very well for Fulham there
I think
last
he got player of the season lead, didn't he?
Yeah,
He got
he
player
got
of the season.
for Fulham. I know people say it's only Fulham, but he's still in the Premiership, playing against teams where you're defending quite a lot. So I think there's definitely options there. With the David Luiz thing, someone said the other day, which is another important thing, which I never thought of, like he's handy at free kicks. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, great shout.
gives us an option for a goal. You know what I mean? Things are tight, bang. You know what I mean? So someone from dead ball situations. So all of a sudden, we've got something. I think. Look, if you want my honest opinion, he's a year younger than Koscielny. His body don't break down as much as Koscielny, and I think that he's an upgrade on Koscielny. Now, it isn't what we wanted because we were all looking for the £67 million strikers. But I've made that mistake once by sending out Johnny Evans. I'd love to have had Johnny Evans now, like, you know what I mean. But that's just one of those things that happen. So one thing, another thing somebody said going up to Newcastle is, what is he? What none of the other signings are that we bought. Every single player we bought, what is he different to?
He's a winner.
He's a winner,
He's experienced.
He's played in the Premiership. He's played in the Premier League. All our other signings have not played in the Premier League. You know, you look at them. So there's all that. So we know what he knows what this Premier League's about. He knows how to He knows how to win it as well. So I don't think it's a bad move. I really don't, like, you know what I mean. And for £8 million, you know, yes, he's going to make mistakes, but I also think, you know, and I'm going to be one of them. I'm going to admit it. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people talking about, oh, let's sign Gary Cahill for nothing. You know what I mean? And people were going to be happy with that. Well, we've signed David Luiz for £8 million, virtually nothing in this day and age. And the one thing about the difference between David Luiz and Cahill, I think Cahill's more of a proper defender. But David Luiz will get the ball and push us forward, and that's the way that Arsenal play. That's the way they play.
Do you think, Lee, as well, David Luiz played every single minute for Chelsea last season,
Well,
and Gary Cahill was on the bench all year?
That says something, and also, you know, but we was so desperate. We was happy to take a lot of fans were so desperate for a centre half. We was prepared to take Cahill. Now we've got David Luiz, who I think is probably like the better one of the two, and you know, somebody said on the radio today, if David Luiz was playing, would they have capitulated like they did yesterday? We don't know. But, you know, he has got that little nasty streak in him as well, which we unfortunately do lack. You know what I mean? We're getting that back now.
And he's got massive shithousery in him.
Yeah. And we need that.
Yeah, we do. Like, did anyone see Ceballos there stick his leg out and then tried to, like, love it?
Well, have you ever seen that happen before? Like, yeah. You know what I mean, I want to see things like that.
Do you remember when Big Jens? I think we were playing Wigan. I think it was Wigan we were playing, and we scored late on to make it 2-1, and the ball went out for a goal kick, and he told the ball boy, "No, I'll get it."
Yeah,
he jumped over the hoardings, and he got the ball, and then he went to throw it back on the pitch. He threw it off. Brilliant. We need that kind of thing back.
Don't underestimate as well what David Luiz brings to the club, like commercially as well. And I know we don't like talking about that because we always talk about football, but to the club, that's a big deal as well. Yeah. He's a Brazilian superstar.
He's on all the head posters at Chelsea.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, good point, Harry.
Good point. I just want to talk before we go on to the questions, and before we. I just want to talk about two other players. Lee, watching him yesterday live must have been brilliant. I mean, you can only see so much on the telly, but this man yesterday, Pierre Aubameyang, absolutely unbelievable. And I really, truly think that this man is going to be the closest replacement to Thierry Henry.
Well, that's a big shout. It's a very big shout. I like him. I like Aubameyang. I like his movement. I like he's got what I like about him, and he's not lazy because he does work, but there are times when he doesn't look like he's interested, and then bang, he's into it, like, you know. So I think he gives a defender a false sense of security. They think, oh, he's not interested, and he's alive. And that finish yesterday, but take nothing away from him, was a great finish. He had one in the first half. He made the goalkeeper work. He's, I think what I like about him is that he can be a team player. He can be lazy. But when he does score and he gets the goals like that, I have to say that I like him. And one thing that I do like, and I don't know if it was so, I haven't seen none of the football, like, you know, since I come back, is that I can see that now that a defender does not like to push right up because they're scared of his pace going the other way. And that's something that we need. You know what I mean? We had 3 or 4 years of teams push right up because we're as good as Giroud was at holding the ball up and being a target man. You know, you could go right tight on him because he weren't going to go in behind you. But Pierre can do that. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that I thought he was as I don't think he was man of the match yesterday, by the way. I think he got man of the match, didn't he? But I felt that he was on the periphery of everything good about Arsenal. And I'm a big fan. When he works hard as well, he's some player. If he's got the bit between his teeth, I don't say something. He's not going to play well every week, but I think someone said, "Is it 50? It was his 50th game yesterday. 33 goals. You know, you can't
knock it.
No, definitely not.
I love the guy, man. I love the guy a lot. I think.
I do. I mean, there was people there suggesting that we should sell him in a January transfer.
Well, I think they're saying that because he's 30 and he's got he's not going to sign a new contract.
Well, he signed one now, so that's out the window.
Well, they're saying he is. It's not official though, is it?
Well, it's not official, but I think we can. I mean, Raul say that if players were to refuse signing a contract, he'd sell them?
Yeah, don't listen to that rubbish. He's going to stay. I think people underrate that finish. That was unbelievable. Yeah. Not just the finish, the first touch. Yeah, the first touch, mate. That was wet. So
another player that is underrated only by Arsenal fans. Harry, I'll come to you. And the only player I find very, very underrated by Arsenal fans is this man. What a goalkeeper he is going to be. Everyone's heard me rave about this bloke. I remember when he signed, and I was telling everyone he should be in goal instead of Petr Cech. Everyone told me I was mental, that he ain't that good, this, that, and the other. But I tell you what, yesterday he was absolutely brilliant. He caught everything. He didn't drop a cross. He was commanding. He pulled off some great saves. Harry, how much of a confidence boost does it give this back four to know that we've got at last a decent goalkeeper? I believe he could go on to be. He could go on to be. He could go on to be world class if he carries on the way he is.
I think he's a good goalkeeper, Bernardo. I think that he's shown, signs that he is on his way to the top. And like you said, if he continues at the way he's started his Arsenal career, then you'd hope that he'd reach the very top. The reason I think people underrate him, and this is not why I have maybe underrated him in the past, but I think the general feeling is that the role of a goalkeeper has changed a lot, in the sense that previously a goalkeeper was a big guy who would make saves. The ball would come back to him. His first thought would be, how far can I smash it up the pitch? Whereas now, a goalkeeper plays almost like a last man in the defence, and he's got to be comfortable on the ball. It's quite clear that Emery wants to play from the back, and when we got goal kicks now, we're allowed to bring our players into the box. That's become even worse, in my opinion. But, we're going to see more and more of that. And so people underrate Leno maybe because they're judging him on the fact that sometimes he flaps at a cross and sometimes he comes out like Superman and whatever. But that is what he's being asked to do. That is the role of a modern day goalkeeper. And it's a role that has evolved over the last few years. And all the top teams have that type of goalkeeper. Manchester City's Ederson is very good like that. So is Alisson at Liverpool. Barcelona's goalkeepers can play like that. It's a thing. I was talking to Jerry Armstrong earlier, and he was talking about La Liga and how Guardiola was kind of the start of this evolution of the goalkeepers. And he's absolutely right. That is the standard now. That is how goalkeepers at the top level are expected to play. And you've got to admire the fact that he is so comfortable with the ball at his feet and so confident and composed, and put that down as a skill and a positive as well, rather than just the standard goalkeeper things that we talk about.
What do you reckon, Dan?
Listen, I'm going to say something now about last season for Leno. I think he was probably the most consistent performer for Arsenal. I know Aubameyang scored a lot of goals. He missed a lot of chances as well, to be fair. But Leno, for me, was fantastic. I can pick a couple of games where I thought potentially he was a little bit average. I think Southampton away and Wolves away. But do you know why he was average? Because Mustafi and the rest of them were about fucking bang average as he was. So I'm a massive fan of the guy, and I think he can be a potentially very good goalkeeper. I agree with what Harry said about the style of goalkeeper now. I think Ederson and Alisson are probably two of the best in the world at the moment, let alone just in the league. And obviously you've got De Gea. If I was to pick number 4, it'd probably be Leno, if I'm honest with you.
What about you, Lee?
Well, the only compliment I can give him is every time the ball goes back to him, I don't feel nervous.
Yes.
I just feel that he's going to
So
be
if
able
we
to deal
don't
with
feel
it.
nervous, then you
Defence ain't going to feel nervous.
Yeah.
And I just feel that he's comfortable on the ball. I like his attitude. I think he's a good shot stopper and everything like that. And when you look at, you talk about the Man City goalkeepers and Liverpool goalkeepers and De Gea as well. He's not out of place with them guys. I don't think he's out of place. I don't think that, when you're looking at 30, 40 to 8, how much was it? Alisson, I think it was 70 million. Was he?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, we only paid, what was it, 21 million?
Yeah, but if someone had said you'd have paid 50 million for Leno, you wouldn't think he was out of place with that. You know what I mean? I think he's been an astute signing. And probably over the last 2 or 3 seasons, probably Arsenal's best signing.
Yeah. He's only 26. Well, 20's probably 27 now, but
good goalkeeper. I like him. I think he's got do you know what? I know we're going about Szczesny and all that. He's just got a cooler head than Szczesny as well. I just think he's, and I do like
Szczesny.
Oh no, I didn't want to bring it up, but
he's better than Szczesny.
I think that he's right up there with the top goalkeepers, and I think because he wasn't Germany's number 1 and that, people just got a little bit carried away with that.
I bet he will be soon.
But in fairness to Szczesny, he is the number 1 at one of the biggest clubs in Europe.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he ain't. I'm not.
And he was recommended by one of the best goalkeepers ever.
I honestly think that, and I'll be honest, I bet that Leno's better with his feet than Szczesny.
Oh yeah, no doubt. We're going to have to move on to some questions now because we're running right out of time. Let's get some questions in. This one comes in from Lee. If all our defenders are fit, what back 4 or back 3 would you play consistently? Good question.
Very good question.
For me, it would be Tierney at left back, Socrates and Holding in the middle, and obviously Bellerin on the right. Oh no, sorry, I would probably go with Socrates and David Luiz, and Bellerin on the right. Dan?
Yeah, agree. If we got another centre half in, I would have pushed David Luiz up one, but we didn't. So David Luiz and Socrates at the back, Bellerin at right back, and Tierney at left back.
Has to be. Lee?
I'm gonna go slightly different. I'm gonna go with Bellerin when fit, Holding or Chambers, either one of them sharing that role alongside David Luiz and Tierney left back.
Harry?
I'm gonna go. My fullbacks are the same, Tierney and Bellerin.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go Holding and David Luiz because I think David Luiz is better than Socrates. And I don't think that Socrates and David Luiz can play together because they're both hotheads and they both probably end up getting themselves in trouble. And I think David Luiz is quite an indisciplined central defender and Rob Holding is a very disciplined one. So I think they'd complement each other better.
Yeah, fair enough. This one comes in from Luke. Thank you very much for your question, Luke. Should we go for a 0-0 draw at Anfield in the future? I don't think us conceding
I'll take a 0-0.
clean sheet. Yeah, we'll take 0-0 right now. But keeping a clean sheet at Anfield, I don't think it's going to be a 0-0 draw.
I would like to see us set up. I know this sounds silly. I'd like to see us set up like Aston Villa did against Tottenham. But we've got the firepower, you know what I mean, like to hit them on the break, something like that. I'm not saying that we do that, but I'd like to see us defend properly, 2 banks of 4 or very, very defensively. Let them come on to us, defend properly, and hit them on the break. I haven't seen Arsenal do that. Even yesterday, we took most of the play, but I'd like to see us soak up their pressure like a sponge and then hit them on the break.
I don't think we've got the players to do that, man. I don't think we've got the defence to do it, unfortunately.
But that's what I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it.
Oh, Lee, I'd love to see it, mate. But I think we did it against Man City a few years ago, didn't we? Where we won 2-0.
Exactly that. Do you know we won 2-0? Yeah, Santi Cazorla and Giroud. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's how we've never played it bloody since. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay, this next one comes in from Simon. Question over here. There's a little private joke in there that only me and Simon would know. But anyway, Aubameyang is 30 now. How much longer has he got? How much longer has he got at the top of his game? And do you think he'll retire at Arsenal? Great question, mate. Thanks.
Brilliant question.
I
Won't retire at Arsenal.
I think he will.
Nah, got China.
I don't think he'll retire at Arsenal, but I think he's got longer at the top than people think, because there's this misconception about Aubameyang that he's only about pace. He has got pace. There's no question about that, but his movement is very good and he's always in the right place at the right time. He's got a really good goal scoring instinct. And I think because it's not just about pace, he can last a bit longer than people maybe think. I think his movement is good. So as long as he's sharp over the first sort of 5-10 yards, even a bit later on in his career, I still think he'll be a lethal striker.
Dan?
Yeah, I agree with Harry. I think he's going to be top drawer for another few years yet. I don't think he'll retire at Arsenal. I'd like him to, but I don't think he will. I just think it's interesting with Aubameyang with his stats there with 33 goals in 50, better than Ian Wright, Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp were at 50 games. And I just think the guy is a goal machine. So I'd love to see him stay for Arsenal for many years to come.
Absolutely. Aaron says top 6 this season. Top 6? Is it back to the top? Is it back to the top 6 now? Is it? Used to be the top 4. Okay. Let me ask the last question before we go on to our little thing that we did there. Dan, if Unai Emery fails to make top 4, do we sack him?
I'm going to say no. I did say earlier that I think he'd be under pressure.
Harry's just falling off his chair. Hold on.
Yeah, Harry is going to disagree with me here, man. So, but I'll take it. Harry's going to disagree with me. I think that he probably will go, but I don't think he should. I want to see stability. I don't want to see a bit of... We've just got these people on board. We've just got Raul. We've just got Edu. We've just got Vinay. I'd like Emery to be with him. I like him as a manager. I think his philosophy's good. I do disagree with some of the things Harry said in the past about Emery. I do like him. I do think he's tactically good. I don't think he changes it when it goes wrong. I think the subs that he makes are normally positive subs. I don't think I've seen him bring on, let's say, El Neni or something that we've seen in the past when it's, we're thinking, what's Wenger doing? So I'd like to see Unai given some time. And I'd like to say if both of the boys think that he should go, then maybe go back to the other question and say, was he backed? You guys said he wasn't. So if he does go and don't get top 4, then has he been backed? No. Well, I don't know if he can go then if he hasn't been backed.
Lee, sacked if he doesn't make top 4?
Well, I don't think he'll be sacked because his contract won't be renewed. I don't like that word sacked, you know what I mean? So, look, listen.
Well, yeah, look, Archie says he won't be sacked, he'll just be released.
Yeah, exactly. I like Archie. He's my kind of guy, you know what I mean? Because I don't like the word sacked. So, if he doesn't make top 4, for me, bye-bye.
Harry?
Absolutely. If he doesn't make the top 4, he's got to go. He was brought into the club because Arsene Wenger couldn't keep us in the top 4. That's why he was brought in. So if he doesn't achieve that, what's the point in sticking with him? Dan, you mentioned his philosophy. What is his philosophy? I've seen 17 formations. I've seen countless different team selections. I can't work out what his philosophy is. So that's kind of where I struggle. And to the point about him not being backed, I will agree that he's not been backed in terms of finances. But we all said that even though, maybe they have balanced the books, the business has been smarter and he's been allowed to get some players in that you'd assume he's wanted or he's had some input in. So having had 2 years and probably I think he would have brought in 11 players by the end of that 2 years to bring in a whole team essentially, and still not hit the target, then for me, and it's nothing personal to Unai Emery, I wanted the change had to be made because we weren't in the top 4. So if you're going to let this guy have a free ride for 2 years without getting us in the top 4, then is that not accepting sort of mediocrity and accepting that we are a Europa League club rather than a Champions League one?
I think you've got to give him a little bit of slack with what he's been left with the previous regime. The reason you talk about 17 formations is because he got the maximum out of that bang average squad last season, and they were still messing up. And the same players that some people on this podcast have been defending, like Xhaka, have been messing up and conceding goals. And also, when you talk about what's he brought his philosophy wise, I think his off the ball pressure and high intensity has improved the club. I think he got 22 games unbeaten out of us last season, and Arsene Wenger would not have done that with that squad, and that was proven last season. So I'm a big fan of Emery. I do like him. I don't think it was his fault that we didn't get top four. I still blame it on some of the Arsene Wenger and previous regime players that messed it up for him. Personally, that's just the way it is.
I also think, boys, that if you put the pressure on him today to get into the top four, that would benefit him when we get into the Champions League. You know what I mean? So that he knows he's under pressure. Let's see if he can perform under pressure. If he gets us to the top four, he's going to be under more pressure to do well in the Champions League because he's going to get more players and whatever. And rightly so. Every manager that comes into the Premier League should be under pressure, whether it be, and it's different pressures. You know what I mean? Steve Bruce has got pressures at Newcastle, which are completely different to what Unai Emery's got, but they are the same pressures. There's managers that are under pressure to keep their team in the Premier League. If they don't do that, they will be sacked. I think there's pressure on, and this is the greatest thing, so that there is accountability to our manager now. And I think that's key. You know what I mean? So that when these players like Xhaka and Mustafi keep making mistakes, if he keeps doing and keeps playing them, he's going to get sacked. So I think it's important.
I think though as well, I think that he did inherit an unbalanced squad, a bit of a mess, but I think that point is overstated a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Since Unai Emery's come in now, if you include the signings of Luiz and Tierney, he's brought in 6 defensive players. So if come the end of the season, Arsenal haven't improved defensively and miss out on the top 4 again because of that, then who's accountable for it? Like
exactly, it's right.
It's all good saying that he's been left with a mess and stuff, but he's been given 11 players of his choosing to improve that. So if he continues to finish outside of the top 4, which is what Arsene Wenger was essentially sacked for, then at what point do you say?
But was Arsene Wenger sacked? Like,
oh yes, Craig.
Yes. No, I know he was sacked. But what I'm saying is, right, he was so stubborn. I mean, you've got a video of him, which was circulated again last week of him. You know, a journalist says to him, you know, would you consider a technical director? And he turned around and said, "What's a technical director? What does he do? What kind of role is that in a football club? Does he direct the players?" Well, now he looks stupid now because we've now got a technical director, and look what's happened. Arsene Wenger was a stubborn man. It was either his way or no way, and I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna do it with this player and that player, and I can't sign anyone because there's no one there to be signed. But we all knew there was players there, but he was so stubborn that he didn't want to bring anyone in because he knew he wanted everyone to think that he was the bee's knees. He was earlier on in his career, but I don't think Unai Emery's like that.
It's 2 different generations of manager, though.
I know, but I still think sacking him after 2 years. I still think sacking him after 2 years would be harsh, in my opinion, or releasing him. I think it would be harsh, but unfortunately, it's the business.
I also think, Craig.
It's the business that they're in, and if he goes, he's got to go, and I'm sure he'll go. You know, he'll go, no problem. But who is the? You know, it goes back to the question. That people were asking when Arsene Wenger was leaving. You know, who is that? Who's going to replace him?
Craig, one point on that. If Arsenal really challenged for the top 4 and like missed out on Champions League, like Liverpool missed out on the leagues, for instance, then you can say, do you know what, maybe give him some leeway. But if it's like when you've got other teams capitulating around you, I think that's a different circumstances. I think it goes a little bit under circumstances as well. Listen, Allegri is going to be available next season. If he's available, and listen, Arsenal could be ruthless, and I hope that they're not. That they got to Champions League, and then they still could release him from his contract. There's nothing to say that they couldn't, but you know, but if they don't, listen. I remember you telling me once, Craig, who wants to come to Arsenal? You know what I mean? And I said, look, Arsenal's a massive football club, and you know
that was under Wenger, though.
Well, the players that are coming now, like, so I think that if the managerial job come up at Arsenal, there'd be a queue going all the way up all the way round to Finsbury Park. And that's how I feel about it. Like, you know what I mean? The managers that want to do, we'd have a choice of one of the best managers in the world.
I agree. I agree with that. I want some stability. I just don't want a Man United situation where we've got 4 managers in 6 years. I
totally agree.
Yeah. Absolutely. Lads, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you all this evening. Thank you to everyone who's been watching live. A little bit of news there, look. Record number of live viewers this evening. Over 500 of you watching live. 522 people watching us right now.
I'm going to fall off my chair again.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you
guys.
so much.
No Monday night football. Maybe that's got to do it.
Yeah, maybe. But we won't knock it.
No, love it.
22 people watching us live. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who watches us on YouTube, on the replay. Thank you very much. Thank you to you all who listen to us on the audio, on iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud. We've had so many podcast outlets there now. I'm not too sure what you're all using. So yeah, it's good to be an Arsenal fan again. We're 3 points, first game of the season, on to Burnley at the weekend. Quick prediction, Dan?
3-0.
3-0 to the Arsenal. I like that.
Yeah.
I like it. Lee?
Tough game. I think we'll find it very, very hard to break them down, but we eventually get there. And I think that we get one and then maybe another one later on. So I'm going 2-0.
Harry?
2-0 as well.
2-0 to the Arsenal. Yeah, I think I'll go 2-0 to the Arsenal as well. But they had a good result, didn't they, the weekend?
Yeah, no mugs. No mugs under Sam Allardyce. Sean Dyche.
Sean Dyche.
They've actually caused us a few problems in the past. And they've always been a tough nut to crack. Won't be no different at the Emirates come Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone who watched us live again. My thanks to Dan. Thank you very much, mate. Now,
cheers, Dan.
I after the show last week, people were saying, "Where can I follow Dan on Twitter?" and he wasn't on Twitter until I started texting him. Come on, son, get yourself on Twitter.
Get yourself on Twitter.
So, Dan, where can people follow you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter now, thanks to you, Craig.
That's all right.
At Dan Arsenal 87. At Dan Arsenal 87. Yeah.
At Dan Arsenal 87. So there you go. You got no excuses. Go and follow Dan on Twitter and say hello
if you want
to. Harry, how are you going with the Chronicles, mate? It's going very well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going well. Thank you, man, for plugging it last week. It helps. Every little helps.
Absolutely not, mate. Everyone's got to go, and everyone who's listening, please go over and subscribe to the Chronicles of a Gooner. Harry is doing daily videos now, and very, very impressive at that. A nice interview with Jerry Armstrong this evening, I believe.
Yeah, Jerry Armstrong was a good chat. He played for Spurs for a little bit. We'll ignore that. But yeah, he's a Spanish football expert. So if you love your football, then it's a great chat and to listen to. He spoke about playing against Maradona, sort of playing with the likes of Glenn Hoddle.
Wow.
Some of the amazing players that he come across. George Best, another one. So it's a really interesting interview. And of all the ones I've done in the last few years, it's probably one of the ones I enjoyed the most. So check it out.
Yeah, go and check it out on Harry's channel now. Harry's interview with Jerry Armstrong. Judges?
No worries.
Well, what are you doing?
I'm trying to find Dan on Twitter. You know,
we'll do it afterwards.
I will do. Sorry, I'm professional. I know, like, you know what I mean. So.
I love you too, Lee. Love you too, man.
There you go, Lee. Thanks very much, mate. Of course.
I loved it. Like that.
My Ant to my Deck, my Laurel to my Hardy, my Diet Pepsi to Pepsi.
With a finger.
My pinky. Yeah. Thanks very much, mate, for coming along and joining us. Okay.
I enjoyed that tonight.
It was good, wasn't it? It was very, very good. Remember, if you like the video, give it a like. If you're on Twitter, follow us at Same Old AFC. Follow the Chronicles of a Gooner. Go and subscribe to Dan Harry's channel. Go and follow Dan on Twitter. And if you want to follow Lee, obviously go and follow Lee. You probably follow him already.
Can I just say, Greg, as well, just quickly, Guns and Yellow Ribbons as well on Facebook. Please join the forum.
Yeah. Go and join the Guns and Ribbons forum. I'm
going to come on there soon, and Dan, I'm coming on soon.
Yeah, you need to, Lee. Good man.
Yeah. You're lucky. You're lucky. I'm in a good mood tonight, Dan. That would have got you. That would have got you taken off promoting other podcasts. But there you go.
No.
Yeah, Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Go and like them on Facebook and join in the forum. And very good podcast as well. Fergus running that. Go and subscribe to them. Or where can they be found? iTunes, Spotify,
SoundCloud, Spotify,
all
the
that.
usual.
Yeah. Look up Guns and Ribbons.
Guns and Yellow Ribbons.
Guns and Yellow Ribbons. You'll find Dan on there as well, along with Fergus. So, without further ado, we will see you next week. Same time, same place at 8:30. And until we do, come on, you Arsenal.
Can't you,
Up
Gunners?
the arse.